Alright, so we are back in the studio today. I really can walk everywhere. And today I am going to be talking about Army of the Dead, the Netflix movie that's been out for the last 2 weeks. And I'm going to tell you exactly how I believe it's changed the zombie genre forever. Now, before I begin, we are on the cusp of 500 subscribers. I can't believe I'm saying that. But all your support has driven me to this point, and I just want to say a massive thank you. And hey, keep subscribing, keep sharing, keep liking the videos. It really does help me to reach more people and a greater audience. And thank you guys so much. It means a lot. Oh, and why I'm holding this today, well, let's just say my mic is compromised, and yeah, we have to go old school. So, Army of the Dead, starring Dave Bautista, former WWE champion, turned assassin, turned Guardian of the Galaxy.
Why is Gamora?
Turned WWE superstar again, who kept forgetting his lines.
Give me what I want. That's not what I want. Give me what I want. Thank you.
And now in this movie is a burger chef. It also stars Omari Hardwick from the Power series that we all know and love. So the first thing that hits me with this movie is everything that The Walking Dead could have been very easily, but isn't. So in The Walking Dead, essentially everyone is infected with some kind of virus, I guess. And this causes a regeneration or a reanimation when they pass away, unfortunately. Granted, they have not sustained any damage to the head of any kind. So it is very clear from the opening scenes of this movie that there is a backstory with these characters, and I believe it will be delved into a lot deeper in two pieces of content that Netflix is planning to release later in the year. I'm talking about the movie Army of Thieves and the Netflix animated series Army of the Dead Lost Vegas. And this is why it goes back to The Walking Dead, because The Walking Dead had a bit of a spin-off as well with Fear the Walking Dead and some web series, I believe, somewhere in the middle of that. So this is a good way to go. And I may get to why there should be a part 2 for this movie, but let me talk about this movie in its proper sense. Now, I may be getting into spoiler territory at this point, so if you don't want to hear any spoilers of any kind, check out this video I'm linking in the I button up there. Alright, so essentially, I find that Army of the Dead has pulled some elements from werewolf movies and werewolf lore, because there is an alpha who is being transferred from Area 51, that reveal is made, and this alpha is responsible for spreading whatever it is that transformed him from a human into a zombie. So in classic Zack Snyder storytelling fashion with slow motion, we get a comprehensive breakdown of what happens after that unfortunate mess in the desert. You are going to get that color grading, and it leads to us seeing our first glimpse of Dave Bautista's character Scott. So Scott is approached by this rich man called Bly Tanaka, who is played by Hiroki Sanada, who is the same actor who fought Hawkeye in Avengers Endgame and was also in The Wolverine, that's the 2013 movie based on the Wolverine character from the X-Men. So essentially he has to find people to accompany him into the zombie-infested land of Las Vegas. And this is why I say the differences between this movie and The Walking Dead start to come into play. Because in The Walking Dead, they really couldn't get control of the spread of this zombie problem. Before you know it, someone you may know is just bitten. You know, it's kind of hard to keep tabs on people in that context. At least that's what we're made to believe. Whereas with this movie, they've been able to contain the whole situation within Las Vegas. Also, I found that Zack Snyder found a way to recharacterize zombies as we commonly know them to be portrayed. Zombies in this movie are not mindless, so to speak. So they're not just undead abominations just biting anything they come across. They are actually with a culture in this sense, and they actually can interact with the living. And we see these interactions between the Queen and our crew when they step into Las Vegas through the quarantine zone. Now, it also baffled me to find out in the course of the movie that the zombies have a bit of a culture, and that's not just with the hierarchy of the king known as Zeus in this movie, and I really don't know why they didn't call the queen Hera, but the fact that they have a king and a queen, and then they have the followers basically. It could lead to some zombie politics. I'm not really sure about that, but let's not push that envelope just yet. But we also see that these zombies are very capable of portraying and feeling emotion. And we saw this with Zeus and his queen. and particularly in the death scene of the queen, where we realize that she was actually pregnant, and this sets off Zeus so badly against the team that he did know was in the perimeter of Las Vegas. Now, something happened in terms of the marketing of this movie that I don't know if a lot of you know about, but I need to talk about it really quickly. Yeah. So, granted that Dave Bautista gained massive popularity within WWE to start with, it would only make sense for WWE to help in some form, and that's exactly what they did to some extent. Basically, a few weeks ago, there was WrestleMania backlash as to why there was WrestleMania in the title. That's another story for another day. But there was an arranged match between Damian Priest and The Miz. And this match was going to be a lumberjack match. Now, for those of you that do not watch wrestling and are not familiar with a lumberjack match, it's essentially a match where the competitors in the ring are surrounded by other wrestlers on the outside who are not competing in the match. And the purpose for which those lumberjacks are out there is if a competitor is thrown out of the ring, they can either beat up the person who has fallen out of the ring and throw him back in, essentially making sure that he doesn't waste as much time as he may need. So John Morrison is associated with The Miz, and he decides, hey, I'm going to talk to these lumberjacks and I'm going to get them on your side. You will win this match. And then it turned out that the lumberjacks were zombies. And then these zombies ate The Miz and Morrison when Miz lost the match. This is why a lot of people have stopped watching wrestling. But if that was the way to introduce the movie to the audience, I don't know if there are better ways to have done it, but okay. Oh, and there was this one character which I really want to point out, and I don't know if this is a tribute to Batista's WWE career and his personal life. There was one character, Guzman, I believe, who looked suspiciously very similar to the late great Eddie Guerrero in the last months of his life. I only say this in reference to his hair. So Eddie had a bit of a blonde dyed style in the latter stages of his career, and so did this Guzman character. And actually, when you put them side by side, they're also Hispanic, and they had a bit of an affinity with Batista's character and Batista. So I don't know if this was a slight tribute to Guerrero, but if it was, well, that was a good one. I also see a little bit of Suicide Squad with this movie, because you could die either way, and there are certain elements that point to the fact that regardless of what happens, you are not going to come out of there alive, which is kind of what Suicide Squad is built on anyway, if you mess up anyway. And this is a bit of a fun fact, because Dave Bautista was actually supposed to be in this upcoming Suicide Squad movie, but turned it down to work on this movie. It had a bigger role for him, and he was going to earn a lot more money, and it's a smarter decision because he had a lot more exposure in this movie. Even though James Gunn, his boy, was going to be working on that movie. Of course, they've worked with Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers, Infinity War. So there was that history, but he had turned his friend down to work on this movie. And I really do think it was a smart decision for him to make long term. I really did appreciate the character dynamics and storytelling with this movie. So there was family, there was a bit of romance, there was the big brother, little brother kind of dynamic in there. There's the tough love sort of dynamic in there as well, which I really did appreciate to see. There was never really a dull moment. The pacing was good. And even with the zombies, there were intertwining storylines, which I really did enjoy. And you do give a bit of a soul with these zombies, having them establish a culture, having them react to emotions and all of that stuff. Zombies are really different in this context, and this is why I am saying that Zack Snyder has succeeded in changing the zombie genre, because you've sort of humanized them to a certain degree, even with their movements. So they are a lot quicker, and I really did like to see that, although, to be honest, that sometimes they looked like breakdancing choreograph moves, dance moves of that kind. But I really did enjoy what I saw, and I'd really want to see how a lot of filmmakers adapt this style going forward if they can. Now, everything about the ending is tragic. There's a little bit of humor at the very last scene, but for the most part, it's one of the tragic endings, and it does give rise to the fact that, hey, not every movie with zombies or a zombie apocalypse has to end on a heroic note of sorts. This has a bit of heroism mixed with grief and sorrow, mixed with humor, like I said, at that very last scene. And I really like, as much as it hurt me to see the way it went down, I really did appreciate what they did with this movie, and man, Zack Snyder is killing it this year. He really is killing it this year. But based on that, I'm also kind of curious as to the outcome of that. Like, is there really going to be a part two? I mean, I would love to see a part two with Ghost primarily being the new Zeus, I guess, but that's left to be seen. I don't know if they would do it. Honestly, if they didn't touch it, I would understand. Leave the prequels that are coming out later this year to do that work, but it would be interesting to see what goes down from this point if they would adapt a part 2. Alright, so Army of the Dead, if you've seen it, let me know what you thought about it. Leave your comments down below. Please do consider subscribing if you like this video. These videos take a lot of time and effort to put together, and I'd really appreciate the support in any way possible. I will see you guys in the next one. I am your Dark Man, and I'm out.
You always pick me up and